Hi, Zandile. Thank you so much for joining me on this series reflection. I'm going to give you a chance before we move forward. I'm going to give you a chance to introduce yourself. Tell us, as the community, who is Zandile Gasela, and then we can take it from there.
Hello. Sis Mabongi. Thank you for the opportunity. Zandile is a mother, a wife, a business person. I like to call myself that. I have 3 children. Yes, and I have been married for about 14 years now. I am a born-again child of God. I love to say that because it impacts my decision-making, even business-wise. I am a director of Donna Erin Properties, which is a rental business. I rent out rooms in Pietermaritzburg, and I am professionally, I am a surveyor. So I studied survey, and then I am also I'm self-employed. So I've got 2 businesses, Alpha ZD Civils and Surveys, and which is survey business, and then Donna Erin Properties, which is renting out rooms.
It's so nice, Zandile. Yes, good. I know that you're a surveyor, but I didn't know that you're already in the property business in terms of being a landlord. So
I don't like calling myself a landlord.
people hate that word. It has such a negative, I don't know, reputation, if I may say. But you
It
are.
sounds so cruel.
Yeah.
But I do provide, I just provide accommodation for those that come into Pietermaritzburg, whether they to work. Yeah, most of the people that rent out my rooms are people that are working.
Yeah.
So internship, yes. So it's, before you even ask, let me just share how I got into
That would have been my next question, because the last session we had was around property. So it would be interesting to know how you got into property.
yes. So there was a lady that I used to go and see, that was staying in a particular property in town. And she, like, so when I went to see her about something, and then there was a board they were saying for sale. And then I went to see her again about a month later, and that property was still on sale. And 2 months, 3 months later, the property was still on sale. And I'm like, okay, what is going on here? And then she's like, oh, there's an old guy staying with his wife and they're selling the house. And I'm like, okay, let me just inquire. Then I inquired, only to find that the property was, it was very cheap. Yeah, it was very cheap. It was going for a very reasonable price. Not cheap as such, but it was very reasonable because the plot was big as well. So I saw an opportunity. I'm like, okay, then I can buy this house and then make some money. And when we saw it with my husband, we were like, hey, this is a gold mine. We're gonna make lots and lots of money. Yeah, that's I just thought, because the house was big, the yard was big, and we were counting how much money we're gonna make, and we were very excited. And then there was, at the time there was a friend of mine who was an architect. I don't know what, if they call them architecture or architecture, but something like that. So I call him, and then after buying the property, so he comes, and so I'm excited. I'm like, this is a gold mine. You know, we're so lucky to have this. And he's like, well, the property does have potential, but there's a lot of work to be done. And it's definitely not a gold mine, as you put it. And I'm like, what do you mean? And part of me was like, hey, is my friend jealous? And you know, and he's like, I'm telling you, there's a lot of things to be done. And it is an old property, and I can see that, like, most of the things that have been done here are just so that you see the property as beautiful. But you have to be prepared that you have to have a lot of money to be able to make it, to make profit out of it. And I didn't believe him until we actually started. We purchased the property, and boy, did we need lots of money to do renovations to make it, because it was a residential home. It was just this guy and his old wife and their dogs. So now we wanted to turn it to rental rooms. So there was lots and lots of things that we needed to do, and we had to even take a loan off, which is something that I don't like. Yeah, that's how I got into it. But even
Yeah.
before that, when I first started working, I was in I was working in Cape Town. Well, it was the first decent job that I had, and one of the things in my heart was like, I need to own property. And then I just saw this advert. There was this bachelor flat that was on sale, and it was in Durban, and it was also in a reasonable price. So I put in an offer, and well, it was accepted, and then rented it out until they started changing all the rules. The levies went up, and so I had to let it go, because now it was, all the rent was going to the levies. Initially, when we bought the property, we only paying for we just paid the levies. There was no water. There was no we didn't pay for electricity. Now everything changed. The management changed, and then everything changed. So I had to let it go. But it was not. It was just one of those things. It was not a business decision as such. Unlike the second one, where I actually decided that this is now I want to do business.
Um, you know what I love about what you've just told me, the whole story, is how you stumbled on those opportunities. And I think it's all about paying attention what's happening around us, because you would have missed that board, that sales board from your friend's place. I mean,
Yes,
but you somehow you paid attention to it over and over again. And also, what I
yes.
love about what you said, you did the due diligence in calling your friend, who we don't know whether he's an architecture or is an architect, who Felicity would have helped us here, um, who would have then given you a real advice on the property, who said, hey, be prepared for this. Then instead of you just running with your ideas because you really feel they are brilliant, you went on to find an advice from somebody who knows. So that's really brilliant.
Yes.
Zandile, what stood out for you this far? I know we've just touched on property because that was the burning session, since it was the last one. What has been just awesome for you throughout the series? What has been just your message? What have you taken from the series?
Okay, I did mention, Sister Mabongi, that I have got two businesses, the survey and the property one. But for me, it's the property one that has the series has, it's like this one speaker was just, he looked at my he looked at my business and then he wrote everything that I was not doing right. And then he came and then he presented it does and he compiled it and did a presentation. The series, it was by Uputim Togozisi, that was saying unlocking market potential. And when I looked at the topic, I didn't think it would speak to me, but because I'm a member of the community, I just joined. But boy, was I like, oh my goodness, oh my goodness, oh my goodness. Like everything he said was speaking to me. Because as we started that, and in the two businesses, it's two different things altogether. This one, the property one, like ideally, you would think that it's the one that doesn't need attention. It's the one that will make most money. And, it's the one that is most sustainable. And then the survey one would be the one that struggles because we work with consultant. Now it depends if you get work or not and all that stuff. But in my case, it was the other way around. The survey one is actually a flourishing one. So, it's the one that is running nicely, smoothly, and making profit. Now, what now stood out for me in this series is there were things that I saw from the beginning. Then when you're renting out a place, there's like 10 or 15 tenants there. Then you see that there's this going on that is not right. There's this that is compromising. But then you keep quiet. You don't say anything. You don't attend to it. And then there's something that he said. He said, when you have a business, you must separate yourself from the business. You must be able, even if it means firing yourself. And I remember when I was watching, I was like, ah! Because and there's things that I had been avoiding. I knew they were making the business unprofitable. And when he said, separate yourself from the business, what I had been doing over the years, I'm not talking about 1 year, the property business is about 9 years, and the other one is about 5 years. But what I used to supplement instead of dealing with the issue. So whatever losses were there, I wouldn't deal with why am I having these losses, and then deal with the issue. I'll sort of avoid it and then just supplement it. So now, even when I had the other business, the survey business now, which was going well, which is going well, and then I started taking money from there and putting it here, and which is so now when he said that, it spoke directly to me. No, I need to attend to this. And now when I think about it and I count how much I've lost over the years because I didn't have that braveness to address the issue because I knew what the issue was. But yeah, that really, really stood out for me. And I knew, some things, you know them at the back of your mind. But when someone else is saying it, because that's, all these things that the speakers are saying, it's things that we know. We know that the purpose of the business is supposed to make profit. But now, if you don't make profit, then you must be you must deal with whatever is making you make a loss. But then you sort of, because now you're not accountable to anyone, you sort of, you brush it under the carpet and you still continue because you know the potential that the business is supposed to make, until now. And I finally found the courage to make a decision that this is, I'm dealing with this head on, and I just have to address the issue, and so that I can go forward. Yes.
I love what you're saying. So it's not necessarily the absence of information. It's about us finding courage to apply the things we already know.
Yes, 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 this Mabongi. It's like it's finding the courage. Because
Yeah,
really, hey, am I gonna, if I address this, am I gonna look like a bad person?
yeah,
What will people think of me? I
yeah,
am a born again Christian.
yeah,
What will people say?
yeah,
And even with the issue of the rent increase, there'll be, the municipality every year, they'll increase your rates and your services and all that stuff. And then I'll be like, hey, but people are struggling, salaries this, and people have not been getting increase what they work. And how, and you'll find that for 2 years there's no rental increase, but the expenses the expenses are increasing. That means instead of moving forward, I'm not, I'm not growing. And I like the topic of the series, because it says profitable and sustainable. So now, where is the sustainability part in what I'm doing? And the speakers keep mentioning sustainability. So now, then I look at myself, is this sustainable? So now that's the property one. Then the survey one now. um it's again, it was one of those things, because when the work that we do, it involves going to site, going to different sites, traveling a lot, being away from home, like walking the whole day, like literally from the time you get to site, you are just walking and walking and walking. And then I realized that, okay, I'm the only person in the business. Okay, walking the whole day is not a problem. But after walking, I still need to do the office work. I have to do the invoices. I need to do the drawings. I need to do the designs. Now it was too much for me. And then I went to the other side. I don't know if it was a coincidence or what. Then there was another guy that's also a surveyor. And he said, hey, I've got a guy here who's, I don't have work, was used to work with me. Please take this guy. And, he's very good. Then you can just take him to site and negotiate, because he's really not doing anything right now. So I took the guy to site. And like, that's what I'm saying. I don't know if it was a coincidence. And I got sick on site. and we're working in Eastern Cape. I got sick, and I was so sick I couldn't walk. And even when that guy, like the guy that, like that surveyor that gave me this guy, like he knows everything. You can even send him to site by himself. But me being me, I was like, no, I don't do that. I must be there all the time. And then I got sick, and I was left with no option but to let the guy work, you know, by himself. I had to go to the doctor, and no, you just have to rest for like 2 days. So now, because you're away, you're paying for the accommodation, and like you're counting days. So now the whole team cannot just sit and not do work. So I had to just let the guy work, and he just worked, and then um, brought back the work. I checked it, and I was like, so it was about, when that happened, it was a second or third year that I had been doing everything by myself.
Oh,
I had been doing everything by myself. Yeah. So it
it's such a
was,
beautiful lesson for business owners that as a matter of principle, you cannot work alone, work in a team, be part of a
yes,
team,
yes.
insist
And
on it. Even when you're healthy and it's not a crisis, a matter of crisis, you know?
yeah, it took a crisis for me to accept that.
Yeah.
It took that crisis. And then yeah, that's what happened. And I realized, okay, now when this guy is there, I know the site, and I've got time to do other things.
Yep.
Now I no longer sleep for three, because that's what was happening. I'll sleep like for 3 4 hours. I was lucky if I get to the fourth hour. Because now it's this and that, and everything. There's quotations to be done, and checking emails, all that stuff. So like, okay, now I started looking at myself as like, what else can I source out? And then I realized, no, man, why am I doing the drawings myself? Because there is a lady. Then I started now quantifying the time that I take to actually do the drawings, because we go on site, then we come back, you do the design, you do the package, you do the design, then you do the drawing, then you send the package to the client. And I was like, when I do it takes so much of my time. But there is actually somebody that does, like, she just deals with drawings only. And that's what I did. Like, okay, now this worked. Let me just send the drawings to this lady. Let me just do a quotation and see. And I was like, oh my goodness. It's I'm sitting here doing drawings for a lot, because she's a specialist. She does that work only. She's fast. And with me, I take a long time. I could be doing something else.
I think
Yeah.
it's about really looking at things that you can really invest your time in. Things that you can give to the next person. Just give it to the next person. You don't have to do it. I
Yes.
recently met Amanda from LinkedIn. Hey, my first connection on LinkedIn, eh? I normally just connect people with that I already know. So this lady reaches out to me, we connect, and I'm like, yo, Amanda, I'm running this community. Do you want to offer your services to the community? She does what? is it called visual assistance, I think. She's recently started her business, and I'm like, you're still building your portfolio. Do you want to do it? I do community just to build my portfolio. Do you want to build your own portfolio as well? And just
Mm.
do it. And she started doing it like 3 weeks ago. Now I don't have to worry what I'm going to share with the community in the
Yeah.
morning. I prepare well in advance my articles and I leave it to her to just run with it. And it has been liberating. I
Yes,
don't have
yes.
to think of captions anymore.
Yeah,
Once I've produced the content, someone else can think of the time. Oh, it's 9, I have to post. She can think of that because she does that well,
yes.
you know? And I
Um,
think
it's
sometimes we're so afraid to bring in people because we prefer things done in a certain way, and
yeah, that's what it also brings it brings that point. One of the speakers that spoke about like create systems.
yes,
Yes, create systems that work.
yes,
Uh, so now I had a relative of mine, and she went for an interview somewhere. She's got 2 degrees, so she went to an interview, and she was convinced that she was going to get that job, and and she didn't get it, and she then asked, how did it go? And she was so positive when she was going there. I'm gonna get this one. I can feel it's mine. And she was so positive. And then she comes back, I didn't get it. And I'm like, okay. By the way, I have an office, like a proper office. And you maybe you can just come and assist me. And my goodness, in 1 month, she just turned things around because I used to lose documents. I wouldn't know where they are. And she like, okay, she she did a list of the stationery. This is what we need. Let's go buy this. We went and we bought that. Like, oh, okay, I forgot this. Like 2, 3. And I'm like, do I really need all these things? And within a month, she organized this all the work that I've been piling for years. They were just in boxes. She organized things and put them on files. And I was like, oh my goodness. Having that helping hand is because I didn't know that it was holding me back again. And she just did it so nicely. She did it beautifully, and she set up and when she was done setting up the office, she was like, okay, now you can teach me how to do the invoices and to do the quotations. And I showed her. And a month later, she got another call for another interview, and she left. And I was valuing her because I could see that she was very eager, and she was very good. But when she left a month later, I realized, oh my goodness, she was working much more than I could realize, because she had that thing, that systems in place. She wrote everything down, everything that I was telling her. She wrote it down so that then when I got somebody else in her place, she had like, number 1, this is what you do. Number 2, number 3, number 4, and I was like, oh my God, she had done so many things. And yeah, we really underestimate the power of having a helping hand. And when and that's one of the things that the series it touches on, that you must build systems so that when you are not there, the other person can know what's happening, and can be able to function, because you don't want the business to just revolve around you.
I mean, what happens, if something happens to you, then what?
Then what?
Yeah. Sure, has been so good.
and it
And
and things do happen. Yeah.
yeah, can I ask you something? You've touched on the idea of family in the business. I mean,
Yes.
obviously, when we're not planning to talk about it, but you brought it up. Can I tell you something? It's such a love and hate affair with the issue of family and business. When for all my businesses, ever since I started my very first business, my cheerleader was my cousin. Um, I think the last hospitality business, my sister and her husband were like my biggest clients. I did their work events, I did their home events. I did they would bring people to the cafe. They would cheer me on, and it was just family, and they would work for free. There were times where I could not pay staff. I remember one time my brother-in-law was buttering sandwiches because I had a client and I was alone. I couldn't get an extra help. And I thought, just to make this extra money, I can only take a volunteer at this point. I can't pay overtime for my staff. Let them go home at 4. Let me just wait for the 7 o'clock. And my brother-in-law came and she was buttering sandwiches with me. My sister would come and work on a Sunday for me.
Yeah.
If I don't have staff on a Sunday, my husband will do deliveries for me. So for me, family has always, my kids will come and work for me. To me, family, I just think you can't do this without family. But I've also known people that have been turned upside down by family.
Um, I think it's a very tricky one because sometimes we we don't look at the person um like, are they adding any value? We just say, hey, it's family. And then you feel sorry for the person. And now then you take them on. But now what happens if they're not adding any value? Luckily for me, like I'm saying, that relative of mine was just amazing. And then my sister-in-law was laughing at me because, like, months later, when she had left, I was still saying, hey, Ustas man, hey, you have no idea the change. And she's like, until when are we gonna cry about her? And now with family, we don't do interviews. We just take the person on. But I realized that she was good. But then you bring other people thinking they're going to be the same as her. Not necessarily. And I've had one of our like a general worker that I had, that's also a relative. And he, like, his personality just doesn't. But he was, he was struggling in life. You're like, let me bring this person in, and you know. But I felt as a business owner, because now that's what you do. Because now I must separate myself. Is this person suitable for the work that I want, that I'm involved in? Yeah, so that didn't work. Well, he, fortunately for me, he had his own stories, then he left, and yeah. But and then I found, you know because now I have people that I work with. I've got two teams now. Then the people the other people then now I had, like recommended from other surveyors, they owned the business. They were like, it's their own business. But this one, who's a relative, didn't have that thing. And he won't tell them straight, this is my sister's, because he calls me, I'm not a sister, but he calls me like that. It's my sister's business. You can't tell me anything. And then the guys will complain like, hey, we worried now because, hey, when we work, this person is, and then when we try to reprimand and correct him, he just tells us that he won't be fired. He didn't bring a CV and all that stuff. so
You are
it's tricky
touching
like
on
that.
something here. Huh?
So
Bringing
so
people
now,
without a CV, without any, processes. Ay, ay,
yeah.
ay.
So now you can't write off family, and you can't really, now you have to make an informed decision. Like when you take on somebody, you that or when it comes to keeping them, because sometimes in a distance the person is very good, the person is the person is hardworking, but you bring them in your business, depending on the type of business that you're doing, then you find that they're not suitable for their business that I'm doing, but you put them somewhere else and they are excelling. And yeah, but a funny story when you talk about your husband helps you, then so this other time I was still working for myself, this like solely. So I had to, there's work that I needed to do, and I just I went with my husband to site. Like I said before, you walk from 7 a.m. until 4 a.m. until like 4 or 5 p.m. So so I go with my husband to site, and then I tell him in the morning, like, you must eat properly. Because so he's not like, naturally he doesn't eat a lot. So like, babe, you must have porridge, and then you must have a sandwich as well. And he's like, no, it'll be too much for me, I won't be able to walk outside. And then we walked the whole day. So now, and then it was 12, it was 1. But when is lunchtime and the car is over there, like it was far away. She's like, oh, I'll never, I'll never go with you. Oh, is this a sabotage? Are you sabotaging me? Oh, no. She's like, no, there's no lunch. And I'm like, no, but the lunch is in the car. You can go and get lunch in the car.
I'm sure he left that day respecting your work so much. When you say you are tired, you mean you're tired. And he understands. That is
Yeah.
hilarious.
Yeah. But he had to get something from the car anyway, because we work with pigs. So he had to go to the car and get some pigs. And then he had his lunch, then he came back, and he didn't tell me when he came back that he did eat in the car. Only told me in the afternoon, oh, I almost died. My employer makes sure that I eat during lunchtime.
Oh
So
man, I love what you are touching on in terms of e just the idea that even if we love our family members and they're good at what they do, it's not necessarily the case that there would be a suitable match for our business. And we must separate ourselves from that decision to say, this one, I love them, I respect them, and I honor what they do, but it's not for my business. And be, be comfortable to say that. Um, I think for me, I've never had the opportunity to fully employed to fully employ a relative. I've always just used them as friends of the business. They would get, if there's a special event, oh, we get paid for that money, but not necessarily on at a full-time basis. And I thought, you know what, it's quite interesting that my sister can literally do everything that I do.
Mm.
She's like my next of kin when it comes to every single thing I do. Should anything happen to me, call my sister. She would know exactly what to do. But in my head, I've always thought I can never work with her at the same time, like belong in the same company and work with her. Um, because she's strong-willed and I'm strong-willed. I don't think we could literally work as smooth. We
Yes.
work well because we support each other in everything that we do. But as employees, I don't think we can work together. So you're making me think of all of that. My husband is awesome, but in one team,
My husband as well, because
employed.
like he'll say, "Hey, I must leave my job and come and work with you," and I'm like, "No, I don't want to work with you." Why not? Yeah, I'll add some value. I'll bring us, and I'm like, no, babes, I don't want to work with you because I know the type of person that he is. He's very good. He's a
Yeah,
hardworking person, but you know, working with him, he has his style and my style are not the same.
yeah,
No, he's one of those people that can multitask. I mean, when I'm doing something, I'm doing that one thing. So I'll be frustrated because he can be doing something else, and then I'll be like, but why are you doing this? And then so and that job that we worked the whole day where he was complaining about the lunch. So I had to go and see one of the farmers, and so he says, "Do you want me to?" Because we also do way leave negotiation. So so he said, "Do you, and I know the type of person that he is, and I'm like, "Do you want me to go in with you?" And I'm like, "No, stay in the car." And he's like, "Oh, okay, I'll stay in the car." So I go in there, like I have the drawings, I've got the document. It was just we have an appointment with this farmer. I had sent him the drawing, so he knows what the meeting is about. So this farmer is like, so I sit in this farmer's house for like 30 minutes. And then I come back after 30 minutes. And he's like, but you said you're just going to sign the document. Now, why did it take so long? So now I explained to him that no, the farmer is worried about this and this, he's asking this, and he just got so upset. Like, this, why, it's our land, and all these things. And I'm like, but that's not what I was there for. Like, it's a good thing I didn't go in there because I was gonna give him part of piece of my
very
mind.
interesting. Their perspectives are totally different.
It is totally.
I don't know. I don't know how many times I've begged to work with my husband and he says no. And I've come to understand that even if I feel like I have better ideas to implement what he does, he has his own different way of doing things, and it's okay. It's his own pace, his own team, and he's comfortable in that way. With Felicity, I don't know if you got a chance to review that video that I did, a reflection with Felicity. One of the things she talked about around running family businesses, it would be
Mm.
interesting to just talk further about these dynamics, family-led businesses and businesses that are led by spouses that are not necessarily comfortable to have their spouses, come in because they both lead differently, not because there's something wrong with either of them, but because they lead differently. I think when you talk about just how your husband's response was in the same task that you both would have done and succeeded, but it's clear that you would have done it differently.
Mm.
Yeah. So why
Yeah,
fight over something that was going to be done anyway?
yeah, it's
Yeah.
like most of the time, I think we just get excited about the idea
Yeah.
and we don't actually look at the details. And that's what I've seen. Like, that's what I learned from this series, that the details are important.
Yeah.
I'm one of those people, when I'm passionate about something, I'll be excited and I want to do it. And then, but I don't, I will not sit down and then calculate or write it down. Or I'll
Yeah.
calculate in my head and this and this and this and this and this. It's going to work. But now, what the series has been like, sit down, write it down, have the numbers
Yeah.
and how it's going to work.
Yeah.
And there is, because now because I do have these two properties in Pietermaritzburg. So now I was having now another idea what to do with the property, with one of the properties. And then I listened to one of the speakers talking about that, like getting now to details. And I was
Yeah.
like, do I really want to do this?
Yeah.
Now, I can't even, the fact that I can't even, so now, because now the person is saying, you must write those things down, write the
Yep.
details down, what needs to be done. Like what Sister Amanda was even sharing, like the details, all those things. And I was like, I don't even want to write these things down because I don't want the reality. I don't want to see
Yeah.
them because the reality will put me off. And then we and then we wonder, why did it fail? Why it didn't work out? But it's because we ignored from the beginning.
We
Because that's
ignored
what
those little details that were key.
we ignore those little details. We ignore those little details to even have like, and what was driving me to have that idea was I'm not like I'm not that person for that particular idea, but it was the money that I could make. If I do this, I can make so much money. It was just about money that I can make. And then I realized now when she was putting when she was doing her presentation, and it was like, it
That
must be more
ladder
than,
of priorities.
yes,
Mm.
the level of priority. And I was like, but I don't like that type of, I'm not that person. I'm, I'm not an expert in that field. I don't even like that field for that matter. The only reason was the money. you know, but now what if I don't make money? What if I don't make money out of it? What's gonna happen? Will I still be excited that I'm providing this service, even if it's not making money? Will it give me any satisfaction? No, it won't. I'll be frustrated because
Yep.
now, even you know, it's not bringing me any joy. It's not bringing me any fulfillment, and I won't even have ideas, and it will just fail like that.
Yeah. Oh man. Oh, we can go on and on and on. I love our conversations, Zandile. Thank you so much. I have taken so much from a lot that you have said. I am proud of you for the two businesses. And I'm learning a lot from, hey, be brave. If the person doesn't fit, they don't fit, and it's okay. So thank you so much
But
for your
I
time.
got the I got the braveness
From the
from
series. Come on. That's so good.
all
Thank you so, so
the
much, Zandile.
except my husband, of course. I just dismissed him. I was like,
That
no,
one
no, no,
was
no.
fired on day one for lunch, for insisting on lunch. Thank
Yeah.
you so much for
Thank you so
sharing
much,
your
Sister
story.
Bongi.
And it would be so nice, Zandile, like I said, it would be so nice to have conversation further around building those teams and just around knowing exactly what you need at that particular stage of your business and how you can sort of see which areas are key for your business to thrive, which areas can you give away, which areas should you hold on to as the founder of the
Yes.
business, as maybe the professional in the business. Just so many things that we can talk about from there. So I'm hoping you'll be open to that. Definitely next year we will have a chance to bring these conversations together. Thank you, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Sis Mabongi. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank
Sure.
you. Bye.